architect, the Kevin De Bruyne story, the kid who was never wanted. In 20s to Chelsea, sold a 23-year-old Belgian midfielder to Wolfsburg for a fraction of what they paid for him. He made only a handful of appearances in blue, mostly written off as too slight, too quiet, not quite explosive enough for the Premier League. 2 years earlier, Cenk had let him leave for Chelsea without much resistance either. Nobody at either club could have predicted that this player, narrow-shootered, unassuming off the pitch, almost anonymous in a crowd, would go on to be described by teammates, rivals, and neutral observers alike as one of the most complete footballers of his generation. That is the story of Kevin De Bruyne, a career built less on explosive making moments and more on relentless, almost mathematical precision. He is not the player highlight reels are built around art. He is the player whose highlight reel is other people's goals. He is the player whose highlight reel is other people's goals. Drungen de Cenk. Drungen de Cenk. A suburb of Ghent. In 1991, born in suburb of Ghent. In 1991, De Bruyne grew up in a country that at the time didn't produce many global superstars. Belgium's so-called golden generation. De Bruyne, Eden Hazard, Romelu Lukaku, Thibaut Courtois, Vincent Kompany was still years from cohering into the team that would reach the 2018 World Cup semi-final as a teenager at Cenk's academy. De Bruyne was known less for physical gifts. De Bruyne was known less for physical gifts than for something harder to teach. He seemed to see the pitch a second before everyone else did. That trait in almost uncanny spatial awareness, paired with the right boot, capable of threading a ball, grew impossibly titles in 2011. That trait, an almost uncanny spatial awareness, pied with the right boot, capable of threading a ball through impossibly narrow gaps. Won Cenk the Belgian title in 2011 and made De Bruyne still a teenager one of the most sought after young players in Europe. Sought after young players, the Chelsea detour. Chelsea's move for De Bruyne in 2012 should have been the making of him. Instead, it very nearly broke his career before it began. Under a rotating cast of managers, he was loaned to Werder Bremen where he thrived, only to return to Stamford Bridge and find himself buried behind Chelsea's established stars once again. By January 2014, Jose Mourinho, never a manager to sentimentalize a player who didn't fit his plan, sanctioned his sale to Wolfsburg for around 18 million. It is one of English football's great what-ifs, and one Chelsea supporters have never quite stopped litigating. But the rejection seemed to sharpen something in De Bruyne, rather than diminish it. Sharpen it. The quotes that followed him, the most quietly devastating part of the Chelsea years wasn't the lack of game time. It was what Jose Mourinho said about it afterward, when City moved to sign De Bruyne in 2015. Mourinho, by the managing his second spell at Stamford Bridge, insisted he had no regrets, framing the exit as mentality issue rather than a misjudgment. De Bruyne said I told him it was not his personality a year into his Wolfsburg to be content to come for a position in the team, and that he needed a club where he was guaranteed to play every week. De Bruyne's own account was blunter and in hindsight prophetic, leaving him without the internal standing to demand a real chance. By the time he got one of the Premier Leagues defined him as Shelley's, he'd stopped litigating it entirely, telling reporters he simply didn't care anymore. Why he never won Mourinho over. The silence was in its way the loudest answer of all. The loudest answer of all. The Bremen rescue. Before Wolfsburg there was Bremen, and it was there, not in Manchester, that De Bruyne first proved what he could do. Loaned out by Chelsea in the summer of 2012, he arrived at a Werder Bremen side sliding toward its worst campaign in decades. Over a chaotic season that saw the 12 games without a win at one stretch, 21-year-old De Bruyne was concerned, the one man performing above his surroundings, finishing the campaign with 10 goals and 9 assists and scoring the goal on the second to last match day. It earned him the Bundesliga's Young Player of the Year award, beating out a promising young German named Julian Draw, and quietly contrived to sign him out right at the end of the loan. Mourinho refused to sell. Quietly convinced an entire country that Chelsea was sitting on a talent it didn't understand. Jurgen Klopp, managing Borussia Dortmund at the time, reportedly tried to sign him out round. Mourinho refused to sell. Jurgen Klopp, managing Borussia Dortmund at the time, reportedly trying him out right at the end of the loan. Mourinho refused to sell. Wolfsburg in the making of a superstar. In Germany, freed from the shadow of bigger names, De Bruyne exploded. In the 2014-15 season, he recorded 10 goals and a staggering 20 assists in the Bundesliga, a tally that made the rest of Europe sit up. Wolfsburg, a mid-table club by pedigree, suddenly had the most creative lighter on the court and league. Suddenly the most creative on the continent, and the transfer fee inflated accordingly. Manchester City paid roughly 55 million in the summer of 15 to bring him to the Premier League. Manchester City paid roughly 55 million in of 2015 to career English football has seen across a decade under Pep Guardiola, the competition that had once deemed him surplus to requirements. Manchester City, a decade of dominance. What followed was one of the most actually midfield careers English football has seen. Across a decade under Pep Guardiola, De Bruyne became the metronome of a city side that redefined what dominance in the Premier League looked like. Multiple Premier League titles, and FA Cups, a crown, and achieved in the Champions League in 23, completing a historic treble. De Bruyne set Premier League assist records in single seasons, and by the time his City career wound down, he sat among the competition's all-time leaders, a testament to a style of play almost entirely around making others better. His long diagonal switches of play, delivered with a weight and it seemed to defy genre. To make spoke less his talent than his stand City hard mark, so to let his most misstrikes hit with a ferocity that looked mismatched to his lean frame. Guardiola, a manager notoriously difficult to satisfy, called him one of the best players he'd ever coached. Teammates spoke less about his talent than his standards of relentless on his pricky perfectism that made him a tyrant, impediment, totally a serious knee problem that cost him months during City's title-winning campaigns. But he returned each time seemingly undiminished, returning undiminished, back undiminished. De Bruyne set Premier League assist records in single seasons, and by the time his City career wound down, he sat among the competition's all-time leaders, a testament to a style of play almost entirely around making others better. His long diagonal switches of play, delivered with a weight and it seemed to defy genre. His mid-range strikes, hit with a ferocity, looked mismatched to his lean frame. A player whose game relied on vision and technique rather than pure athleticism, and who therefore aged more gracefully than most.
Guardiola's ready sign. Part of what made De Bruyne so durable at the top level was his refusals to be pinned to one job description. Under Guardiola, he was moved fluidly between a central attack and midfield role, a deeper double pivot position shielding the defense, and in City's most possession-dominant seasons, something closer to auxiliary striker, drifting into the space strikers usually occupied while a front line rotated around him. It was an unusual level of tactical trust for a player who wasn't primarily a goal scorer, and it worked precisely because De Bruyne's game was built on reading space rather than occupying a fixed lane. Where a more rigid player might have the shuffling disorienting, De Bruyne treated it as an expanded canvas. Evidence City insiders often said that Guardiola considered that Guardiola him less a piece to be deployed and more a second brain to be consulted, equaling a legend.
There is one number that, more than any trophy, captures what De Bruyne meant to Manchester City's midfield 20. In the 2019-20 playing for the side that had lost its Premier League crown to Liverpool, De Bruyne recorded 20 assists in a single campaign, matching a Premier League record set by Thierry Henry back in 2203 and left untouched for 17 years.
He reached it fittingly, teeing up Raheem Sterling in the closing minutes of a rout of Norwich, and afterward joked that he'd been needling Henry as whenever their paths crossed on Belgium duty. He finished that season 7 assists clear of the next best player that statistician still cite as greatest individual midfielders English football has seen, reaching 50 in record time. Long before the Henry record fell, De Bruyne had already written a quieter piece of Premier League history. In September 2019, an assist for Sergio Aguero against Bournemouth brought up his 50th in the competition. Reached in just 123 appearances for Chelsea and City combined, the fastest any player had ever hit that mark. Mesut Ozil, previously the bench buck, had needed 141 games. Like Eric Cantona, Dennis Bergkamp, and Cesc Fabregas all took longer. It was less a headline moment than a steady accumulation finally made visible. Proof that De Bruyne's creative output wasn't built on standout seasons so much as a baseline of excellence that rarely dipped. The cursed finals. For a player defined by control, De Bruyne's relationship with the Champions League final was strangely cruel. In 2021 in Porto against Chelsea, he was involved in a sickening collision with Antonio Rudiger that left him with a fractured nose and a fractured left eye socket, forcing him off the pitch with City trailing in a game they would go on to lose. 2 years later, in Istanbul, lightning struck twice as time it was his hamstring, snapping just 36 minutes into City's eventual treble-ceiling final against Inter Milan. He watched from the bench, ice on his leg, as striker of the Champions League trophy City had chased for a decade. De Bruyne central to the story of that campaign, yet absent from its final act. It remains one of the strange footnotes of his career, the architect of City's greatest triumph, forced to watch the crowning moment from the sidelines twice over, the road to Istanbul. The final itself was cruel, but the camping that got City there belongs substantially to De Bruyne. In the semi-final first leg at the Santiago Bernabeu, with City trailing Real Madrid to a moment of Vinny's junior brilliance, De Bruyne collected a roll pass from Ilkay Gundogan and drove a rising strike beyond Thibaut Courtois to snatch a 1-1 draw and swing the back in City's favor. It was his 7th Champions League goal from outside the box, exactly half his total in the competition, and it set up a dominant second leg at the end of Madrid's hopes of a 3rd consecutive European crown. When Rodri's goal in Istanbul finally delivered the treble weeks later, De Bruyne, hamstring wrapped in ice on the bench, had already done as much as anyone to get City there. Player of the players. Individual awards rarely tell the full story of a footballer's influence, but De Bruyne's collection is a useful shortcut. He won the PA Players Player of the Year award, voted for exclusively by fellow professionals, widely regarded as the award hardest to spin or campaign, along with the Premier League's official player and its Playmaker of the Season prize, the latter twice. Manchester City's own supporters and staff voted him their Player of the Year on 4 across his decade at the club. What united the honors wasn't spectacle, from the people who marked him and played alongside him, that few misiverages in the world made a football match easier to win. Few misiverages in the world made a football match easier to win. Easier to win. Easier to win.
Look, the gold plate never came for the brain box. While the 9 and the main move wait in the safe box. 3rd place for the ghost in the engine room. Where the strikers eating them with Fletchier's groom. No real for the solo, it's the pass in the gap. Disguised through ball, rewriting the map. He's inflating the numbers of the man on the end, but the gold is for the shooter, not the one who can send. A prize not built for the ghost assist. In the box where the legends and the soloists list. Golden generation, just a golden drought. Heartbeat of the squad, but we're heading out. Top of the rankings, no trophy in sight. Just a void on the CV. Just a void on the CV, haunting the night. Agony in the semi, yeah, the void is deep. In a resume, glittering secrets we keep. Kazan 28, boss made the switch. False 9 motion, dig in the ditch. Eden on the left, Rom on the run. Brazil's midfield exposed, now the work is done. Own goal fortune, now Rom's on the wing. Squaring it back, hear the silent sting. One touch, low drive inside the post. Past the big Allison, we're doing the most. Neymar's team chasing, but the gap is too wide. 32 years, now we're turning the tide. Beautiful work, yeah, it wasn't a breeze. Semi-final bound, bring them to their knees. Golden generation, just a golden drought. Heartbeat of the squad, but we're heading out. Top of the rankings, no trophy in sight. Just a void on the CV. Just a void on the CV, haunting the night. Agony in the semi, yeah, the void is deep. In a resume, glittering secrets we keep.
Not easy, man. Not easy at all. Beautiful, though.
The Ballon d'Or that never came. For all the medals, one prize eluded him, the Ballon d'Or. De Bruyne's best finish came in 2022 when he placed third behind Karim Benzema and Sadio Manu. A high water mark for creative mid-flyther in an era. A high water mark for creative mid-flyther in an era when the award has skewed overwhelmingly towards strikers and the world's most prolific individual scorers. It's a mismatch that trails much of his career. De Bruyne's value was never easily reducible to a highlight reel of solo moments, but to the completed passes, the disguise through balls, and the teammates whose numbers he inflated. Football's most famous individual prize was, in the end, not built for a player whose greatness showed up mostly in someone else's goal. Golden generation, no golden trophy. On the international stage, De Bruyne became the creative heartbeat of Belgium celebrated. Golden generation, a World Cup semi-final in 2018. A run to the World Cup's third place match, and years spent as the world's top-ranked national team on paper. Yet, agastration of a golden generation, no major trophy to match the individual brilliance of the squad. It remains the most notable void on an otherwise glittering resume. It's the quarterfinal against Brazil at the 2018 World Cup. Manager Martinez made a bold call, pushing De Bruyne into a false nine role. Rather than his usual and Romelu Lukaku, than his usual a deeper position. A decision that left Brit Fields exposed to exactly the kind of rapid counter-attacking football Belgium was built for. Between De Bruyne who burst clear down the right and squarer than his usual and arriving in position. A decision that left, arriving at pace, took a single touch and drove a low finish inside the far post palace in Brazil. The tournament and favorites and Neymar's team would pull one back to reach the first home semi-final 32 years. We've achieved something that is really beautiful, De Bruyne said afterward, and it's not easy. Belgium's debate, who is the greatest? Ranking De Bruyne against his own golden generation teammates became a genuine national conversation. Belgium won that outlast the teams that sport in tournament exits. Former Belgian goalkeeper Pampa Jimri Paf, who won a European championship at runner-up medal in the 1980s, put in 1980s when comparing De Bruyne to Eden Hazard and Enzo Saifo. Two of the country's other most gifted attacking players, De Bruyne, he argued, was simply the most complete, more varied in what he offered aside, always thinking of where it's rather than what tricks he could produce. It's a debate without a settled answer, but the terms of the argument say something on their own. Even among a generation stacked with individually brilliant players, De Bruyne's case rested not on flash but on function. FIFA's golden boy. Long before highlight compilations, an entire generation came to know De Bruyne through a different medium, EA Sports FIFA video game franchise. From the late 2010s onward, he was repeatedly rated the best central midfielder in the game, holding a 91 overall rating across multiple editions, topping the passing statistic outright. A 92 or 93 rating that made his in-game card a fixture of ultimate team squads worldwide for millions of players who never saw him live. FIFA De Bruyne, the long diagonal ball, the driven low cross, the unstoppable knuckleball strike was the primary way his genius was understood, turning a genuinely elite footballing trait distribution into a piece of pop culture in its own right. The ice-cold interview. Off the pitch, De Bruyne built a reputation almost as distinctive as his passing range. Dry, unsentimental, allergic to cliché. Where many elite footballers were true diplomatic non-answers, De Bruyne became known for saying exactly what he thought, whether the subject was a manager, a transfer fee, or his own performance. Teammates and journalists alike
came to recognize the deadpan delivery as much a part of his identity as the assist. It made him, by football's usual standards, refreshingly readable. Supporters always seemed to know where they stood with him, even when the answer wasn't the one they wanted. Function. That calm exterior had one famous exception. In October 2017, booked late in the first half of a Champions League win over Napoli. De Bruyne stormed toward the tunnel at halftime trying to reach the referee, only for teammates David Silva and Fernandinho to physically hold him back, prompting a red-faced De Bruyne to scream, "Let me talk," at his own teammates. Again and again, as television cameras captured every second, the clip became one of football's enduring memes. Endlessly recut and recaptioned for years afterward, De Bruyne, when asked about it later, offered one of the more self-aware explanations an athlete has given for a viral moment. "I'm an angry man on the pitch. Inside of me, it's like two different Kevins." Offit Baez arrived at Manchester City in the summer of 2022. Many wondered how a team built for a decade-round fluid, positionless attacking play would adapt to an orthodox, penalty box shy partisanship in numbers, De Bruyne and Haaland. The answer arrived almost immediately, largely through De Bruyne. The pair struck up an instant chemistry. De Bruyne supplying Haaland with an assist in the Norwegians' very first game for the club, and City's most reliable route to goal for the next 2 seasons often ran through a single pattern. De Bruyne finding pockets of space to deliver the ball into exactly the stride Haaland needed. In its way, a passing of the torch in reverse. The league's most devastating provider finding in Haaland a finisher clinical enough to make full use of him. Michel and the tweet that changed everything. De Bruyne's personal life traces back to an oddly modern love story. In 2014, while he was starring on loan at Werder Bremen, a friend messaged a young woman named Michelle LaCroix on De Bruyne's behalf after she'd liked one of his tweets. De Bruyne later admitting in an inning too nervous to reach out himself. The two hit it off, and in 2016, he proposed in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. They married in Italy in June 20 to have 3 children, sons Maximilian and Rome, and a daughter Suri. Michelle, who has since built her own media career, remained a steady, low-key presence throughout De Bruyne's most demanding years at City, largely shielded from the spotlight by a couple who both seemed to prefer substance to noise. At his emotional Manchester City farewell in 2025, he couldn't resist referencing it one last time, joking that after 10 years, it was finally time someone let him speak. The statue outside the 8th Hyde. City made sure his exit was nothing like the quiet fade so many great players are given. In his final home appearance in May 2025, De Bruyne walked out through a guard of honor, formed by teammates and staff, alongside his wife and 3 children, to a stadium that had spent the match chanting his name. Video tributes from Sergio Aguero, Vincent Kompany, Fernandinho, and even Thierry Henry, the man whose assist record he'd once matched, played on the big screen as Guardiola, watching pitchside was reduced to tears. The club unveiled a mosaic in his honor at its academy and announced on the night itself that a statue of De Bruyne would be commissioned outside the 8th Hyde, joining Kompany, David Silva and Aguero as the club's immortalized greats. Whenever I come back with family and friends, I will be able to see myself, so I will always be here. The end of an era at City and a new chapter in Naples when Manchester City chose not to renew his contract at the end of the 2024-25 season. It marked the end of one of the club's defining eras. Deep rather than chasing one final lucrative payday in Saudi Arabia, paid much as a football culture in the twilight of his career. The reality since has been more complicated. Injury problems disrupt his first season in Serie A, and reports in 26 suggested friction over tactics. De Bruyne reportedly chafing against a defense-first approach that that limited his influence on games in the way Manchester City never had. By the spring of 2026, speculation mounted that his stay in Naples could be brief, with intermediaries said to be exploring a move to Turkey, Saudi Arabia, or Major League Soccer as he approaches the very final stretch of his playing career. The Napoli struggle continued. The tactical friction in Naples ran deeper than a single mismatch philosophy. Under Antonio Conte, De Bruyne found himself in a team built around defense and solidity and directness, rather than the fluid, possession-first football that had defined his entire prime. A stylistic reversal that reportedly frustrated a player used to shaping matches on his own terms. A serious thigh injury compounded the problem, sidelining him for a lengthy stretch of his first Serie A season. When Conte's exit brought in Max Allegri, defense-oriented football, the fit looked, if anything, worse rather than better. It made for an unusual final chapter, a player once given total tactical freedom by Guardiola, now searching for a system willing to build around him again. The business of being Kevin. Off the pitch, built a financial profile that reflected the same understated he brought to interviews. Steady rather than flashy, his marketability never matched the global commercial reach of a Messi or Ronaldo, but a long-running partnership with Nike, along deals with EA Sports, Therabody, and Belgian brands including telecom giant Orange and McDonald's built in Emily. More unusual for a football estimated in the million investment, rather than simply cashing in endorsement checks. De Bruyne took an equity stake in the wellness technology company Therabody and became an early investor in Belgian and sport as a stakeholder, rather than just a spokesperson. Between career earnings, sponsors, and property in Belgium and England, his net worth by the mid-2020s was widely estimated in the region of 100 million, built like his football on compounding steadily rather than chasing the single spectacular payday, the captain's last stand. When Eden Hazard retired from international duty after the 2022 World, Belgium, De Bruyne to lead what remained of the golden generation, naming him captain ahead of qualification for Euro 2024. It was a fitting elevation for a player who had never been the group's most naturally box office star, but had long been its beaten tactical heart. He wore the armband through a difficult transitional period, an underwhelming Euro difficult transition, 24 defeat to France. A squad publicly acknowledged by De Bruyne himself as having grown too old after Qatar, while still delivering performances that bellied his age. Heading into World Cup 2026, qualifying at 34, he was Europe's highest scoring mid-flighter across the entire campaign, leading Belgium's push alongside a new generation of attackers, including Jeremy Doku and Charles de Ketelaere. Belgium arrived at the 2026 World Cup as a team caught between eras, no longer the golden generation of 2018, not yet fully the next one, and rode that blend to a quarterfinal meeting with Spain. A narrow 2-1 defeat ended the run, with it quite possibly De Bruyne's international career. In the aftermath, visibly weighing the physical toll of recent seasons and a hamstring surgery he'd only months earlier, he spoke of wanting to step back from the national team, leaving his 2024 Belgium story hanging for now without a confirmed final chapter. The 2017-18 season stands apart, even a career full of record-breaking campaigns. City became the Premier League's first ever centurions, amassing 100 points, and Kevin De Bruyne was arguably its principal engine, playing 87% of City's league minutes, scoring 12 goals and providing 21 assists while leading the squad in chances created. The season was captured in unprecedented detail by Amazon's Fly on the Wall documentary, All or Nothing, Manchester City, which showed De Bruyne not as the reserve figure of his public interviews, but as a genuine dressing room presence. Including one memorable scene of the entire squad and coaching staff jumping and singing "Oh Kevin De Bruyne" after his goal secured a vital win at Chelsea. The armband he didn't want. For all his standing at the club, De Bruyne was never officially made Manchester City captain, putting to focus on playing rather than take on the extra responsibilities. A quiet decision from a player who had players who influence and leadership require a piece of fabric on the sleeve to be felt. Influence and leadership don't require a piece of fabric on the sleeve to be felt. attend the show's premiere on crutches, having suffered a serious knee injury in training only hours earlier. And only hours earlier, an injury that would rule him out for months. It was a strange, fitting image. The player most responsible for the record-breaking season sidelined the moment the cameras finally turned to celebrate it. The armband he didn't want. For all his standing at the club, De Bruyne was never officially made Manchester City captain. Perrin to focus on playing rather than take on the extra responsibilities. A quiet clean decision from a player who had players who influence and leadership require a piece of fabric on the sleeve to be felt. That influence and leadership don't require a piece of fabric on the sleeve. When Ilkay Gundogan left for Barcelona in 2023's where De Bruyne was frequently handed the armband anyway, trusting his voice on the pitch. Belgium's golden generation had a quieter unifying force in tactics or talent language. Growing up in Flanders, De Bruyne's native tongue is Dutch, but Belgium's national team dressing room has long straddled the country-speaking and French-speaking communities, along with a growing number of teammates more comfortable in English. De Bruyne in Dutch, French, English, and German, a product of Belgian schooling, combined with years playing in England and Germany, became one of the players able to move naturally between those groups. A small but real form of glue in a squad, occasionally strained by the same cultural fault lines that run through Belgian society at large. It's an unglamorous kind of leadership, invisible in any highlight reel, but teammates and coaches across his career have pointed to it as part of such a natural on-pitch communicator, capable of directing players in whatever language got the message across fastest. The hamstring surgery that cut short his 2020 Champions League final also became an unlikely turning point. Rather than treat the recovery as a rehab, De Bruyne then 32's the enforced break to overhaul his approach to his own body, bringing in personal chef Johnny Marsh and reworking his diet in ways that made headlines, largely for how mundane they were. Out when old habits ink a simple mustard sandwich as a staple lean snack, a song cider and straight, renew sake focus on strength and core conditioning. He returned leaner, visibly restored compared to the trophies and finals, but instead of the trophies and finals, approached the tail end of his career, not with resignation, but with the same meticulous detail that had defined his passing for over a decade. Whatever comes next, De Bruyne's place in the sport's modern history is already secure. Whatever comes next, De Bruyne's place in the sport's modern history is already secure. He is statistic and stylistically among the finest passes and creators the Premier League has ever hosted. A player who turned unglamorous science of vision, way to pass his spatial awareness into an art form. He never had the box office swagger of football's most marketed superstars, and he never seemed to want it, what he wanted, consistently across 2 decades was to make the past no one else saw. The kid Chelsea let go for a bargain fee, became one of the most influential midfielders of his generation, not despite being overlooked, but in some strange way because of it.